Does anyone know the coach for the Atlanta team? I saw her name, but I missed it, and I don't know if Sean knows anything about her background or anything of that sort. I did. Yes. Is she the pro at the Atlanta club, or do you happen to know any of that? I don't know if you. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, I found some stuff online. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen around the world, welcome to A-Town USA. You are moments away from a live look at the Atlanta Community Squash Center, where the Atlanta Tornadoes are set to do battle with the Derby City Colts. My name is Jackson Bragman, and alongside is the host of the Rally Report podcast and a former NESCAC Rookie of the Year for the Wesleyan Cardinals back in his college squash days. It is Sean Choi. And Sean, it's opening day for the National Squash League. This has been a long time coming, and we're finally here.
Thank you, Jackson. Couldn't be more excited to be a part of this season opener here. Really excited for this matchup between the Derby City and Atlanta. We had some quick changes in the lineup, which was fascinating to see. But yeah, Jackson, how are you doing?
I am absolutely fantastic, Sean, and I just can't wait to get underway. It's opening day. I'm ready for a hot dog and some peanuts like I'm at the ballpark, but it's a little bit of a different feel when we're at the Atlanta Community Squash Center today. Obviously, we're calling this match remotely, and we're going to do everything we can to bring you guys the best broadcast possible for what is sure to be a historic day for the game of squash. And once again, I can't wait. Before we do get into our major talking points here ahead of our 5:50 match that we have scheduled in a few moments here, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, ProFly Studio, our wonderful production team, Sean, that has been guiding us through this whole event throughout all of these past couple weeks, getting ready for opening day, as well as the exhibition Team USA versus Team World match in Nashville, Tennessee last month, and the NSL draft that followed the night after. A huge shout out to ProFly. Thank you for making this happen, as well as Dunlop, the provider for squash balls around the nation. We have the classic Dunlop 2-dot here, just lying on my bedside. I figured I would bust out the ball to give him a shout out. Dunlop will be the ball in play today during NSL action, and we couldn't be happier to have them alongside us for our NSL journey here. And then Honeywick as well. Huge shout out to Honeywick and all the social media work that they do over there, Sean. And the NSL is about to get underway. There's a lot of excitement going on in the squash world right now. World Team Championships coming up. The World Individual Championships, are coming up in just over a week here as well. But tonight, we're kicking off NSL action, and couldn't be more exciting, Sean.
I mean, right into the swing of things with the NSL Tour schedule up on the screen right now. Jackson, any matchups that you in particular are looking forward to here?
Yeah, Sean, and after tonight's match, we're going to have next week where there'll be two big-time matches between Atlanta and Nashville and Chicago and Newport. And looking up and down the schedule, I think that one matchup that really excites me is that May 17th showdown between Nashville and Derby City. And that matchup will ideally feature, assuming health and availability is not in question, the Nashville Crushers and the Derby City Colts, the number 1 versus number 3 overall pick in that one. Timmy Brownell leading the Nashville Crushers, the founder of the National Squash League, and Victor Cruin leading the Derby City Colts, the second overall pick, not the first, for Derby City. And Victor and Timmy, college teammates, won a couple national championships together at Harvard. We saw them square off in the Team USA versus Team World exhibition match last month in Nashville, Tennessee. But we're going to get to see them do battle in a regular season NSL match coming up in 3 weeks here. That's a matchup I definitely have my eye on, as well as New York, Chicago the following day. That will be at the University Club of Chicago, a venue that I've had the opportunity and pleasure of playing at a few times in the past in my junior squash days, and what a gorgeous, gorgeous facility. And I can't wait to call that action between New York City, which to me is the most interesting team. We've talked about it a lot, Sean. They're the tallest, biggest, most powerful team. Between Matthias Knudsen, between a guy like Sam Sherrill, who is one of the most fit guys you'll see when it comes to the game of squash, and obviously had an undefeated record in his time at Harvard between his sophomore and his senior year. Of course, Augusta Sword, the first pick, and I believe the 4th overall pick for the New York City Knights. And the 3 of those guys are set to do battle against the Chicago Grizzlies. I can't wait to see New York get underway and Chicago get underway, and we've got some special venues on tap coming up here, but we're going to kick things off at the Atlanta Community Squash Center in just about 10 minutes here. Sean, What is a matchup that you have your eye on when you look up and down the schedule here as we're getting kicked off here for match one of the NSL season tonight?
Oh, I gotta say, I'm biased towards any time New York's featured on the schedule, so I'm looking forward to that New York City versus Chicago matchup. Honestly, one thing I would like to say is that free agency has been quite the buzz here. So I think, in a way, if you have your eye on a player that you like on the tour, you never know, could be joining in last minute as a free agent. So it's fantastic to see the switch ups, and you never know who's going to be featured in certain matchups. So I'm really excited to see the changes and updates. So really stay tuned on the Instagram, stay tuned on the news and the social media on if your favorite player might be featured in next week's lineup.
Absolutely. And moving on, Sean, it was a big week for the NSL, not only because the NSL is kicking off their season tonight here in Atlanta, but also because the NSL announced a big-time partnership with U.S. Squash earlier this week. This is absolutely huge for not only NSL, but for U.S. Squash. These are two organizations in the United States that are massively concerned with the growth of the game of squash around the U.S. And so it's a match made in heaven, and it's wonderful that U.S. Squash is on board with the NSL here, a media partnership where U.S. Squash is going to be very invested in the success of the NSL for years to come. It totally, in my opinion, legitimizes a lot of what Timmy Brownell, Spencer Lovejoy, and League Commissioner Fernando Valdezan have been building over the course of the last year or so. We're just about a year removed, almost a year removed from the first beta exhibition match of the National Squash League in the Derby City, actually, in Louisville, Kentucky. About a year ago. And so look how far we've come in just a 1 year span. And I think that we kicked that off with a big time announcement of the U.S. Squash partnership during the week leading up to the NSL's first ever regular season match, Sean.
I'm looking forward to doing what a partnership this is, really, as you mentioned, alluded to, about the legitimization of the NSL. And it's just really fascinating to see this partnership and growing the sport. And ultimately, it's about growing squash, and in the U.S. in particular, with the Olympics coming up in 2028. So I'm looking forward to the future of squash here.
The NSL is buzzing, as we saw in the schedule earlier. We have 6 teams and 6 regular season matchups for this season. Already a lot of excitement and interest in new teams coming next year. A lot of excitement and interest in a potential women's league as well next year. So stay tuned for that. We could be making a big jump potentially from 6 teams to 12 teams next year. You didn't hear it from me, but there is a lot of buzz and excitement around the National Squash League in the squash world, a very tight-knit community that is very concerned about the growth of the game overall. And the National Squash League is doing all that it can to promote the game, grow the game, and take the steps to get squash on the global stage ahead of the 2028 Olympics coming up in a few years here. That being said, Sean, we're going to take a quick break, but we're just getting started here in Atlanta. We are moments away from Derby City versus Atlanta in the first match of the 2024 National Squash League season. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after a few words from our sponsors. Welcome back to opening day of the National Squash League. My name is Jackson Bragman. Sean Choi alongside for action between the Atlanta Tornadoes and the Derby City Colts. And today, Sean, we are getting to see the team that plays for the city, where the first ever NSL exhibition match was played, and how apropos that now, a year later, they are featured in the first ever regular season NSL match. And it's quite the squad for Derby City. A few players that are not able to make it today for Derby City. So the Colts had to go to the waiver wire to pick up Dylan Huang and Joseph White. But before we get to those two gentlemen, let's start with the head coach, Lee Scott, the Yorkshireman, as you can see on the screen right there, the head pro of the Louisville Boat Club, and total stand-up individual, a guy that I've had the opportunity to meet throughout my junior squash days, and is an absolutely fantastic human being that has been pivotal in the role behind in many different roles, wearing many different hats behind the scenes for the National Squash League getting kicked off here. So huge shout out to Lee Scott, who will be coaching the Colts today. And we're going to start things off with Captain Cali, Dylan Huang, the West Coast kid, born and raised in San Francisco, the Bay Area, and attended the University of Pennsylvania, played some outstanding squash there, graduated last year around this time, and was just 1 year shy of winning a national championship, Sean. I heard that the University of Pennsylvania has this guy, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, by the name of Gilly Lane, and he's built in quite the program in Philadelphia right now. So Dylan Huang, fresh out of that Penn program.
Glad to see.
I shot him a text and I said, "Hey, we're calling Dylan's match later this week. Do you have any tidbits or any interesting things that I can mention?" And what Gilly had to say is that he is the king of the 3-2 win when we're talking about the regular PSA college. And college squash. However, in his college squash days, was the king of the 3-2 win, had a massive 0-2. One of the guys that I relied on a ton. Gives you a little bit of a sentiment about what Dylan Huang is all about, and already achieving a world ranking of 107 at only 22 years old. The sky is the limit for Captain Cali. As we move on to the world number 83 and the Australian number 1, it is Joseph White, Sean.
Yeah, looking forward to Joseph White playing. I'm glad he's getting featured, and he's come a long way from Australia here, and glad to see him featured. I saw a quick on the bio that he's self-proclaimed best flat white in the business of making his own flat white. But big news for him. I saw he was featured in the World Championships qualifiers, which they've been doing it worldwide, and he did win his area on the Australian World Championships. So very cool that he's being featured in the World Champs that are happening in Egypt next week, and I'm sure this is going to be a good warm-up for them and good practice.
Yeah, I want to give PSA some flowers. They're doing a very cool thing this year where they have these World Championship qualifier events all across the world. Obviously, the PSA World Championships kicking off in a little over a week here from Cairo, but all across the world in these different continents and different regions, we had these World Championship qualifier events. So players from different areas around the world had the opportunity to play their way into the World Championships coming up here, which is obviously the most prestigious event in squash. As of right now, it is our Super Bowl. And Joseph White winning the Australian region, cementing his spot in the World Championships next month. And another man who solidified a spot in the World Championships last week was a man by the name of Spencer Lovejoy, who is the brains behind this very operation of the National Squash League. He won the Pan America qualifiers to hold up his number 1 seed and find himself in the World Championships next month. So shout out to Spencer as well as Joe White. a huge accomplishment to get to play on the world's biggest stage when it comes to professional squash. And then we move on to Chef Shah. He was the penultimate pick for the NSL draft this year in Nashville, the second to final pick, the final pick for the Derby City Colts. However, he is actually the only draft pick of Derby City that is going to be in action today. And Shah Jahan Khan, one of the top players from the United States, born and raised in Pakistan, and a few years ago switched his allegiance to play for Team USA. And Team USA is very grateful for that. An outstanding player, a guy that reached the highest world ranking of 25 in the world a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, give or take, and now back down to 50, has battled a little bit of a couple nagging injuries and has not played his best squash over the last year, but is looking to return to that form that he was in kind of in late 2022. So Shah Jahan Khan, very interested to see how he fares for Derby City here tonight. He could be the X factor for the Colts, Sean.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Shah Jahan play. I know he's been having a bit of a tough season so far, but we know what he's capable of as he's reached up to 25 in the rankings. He's an incredibly solid player, and was really happy to see that he did switch to Team USA. And having a player at his caliber and his experience is going to be fantastic. He's very light, so light on his feet. Doesn't have a massive build, so lightweight, as the commentators say with Ali Farag all the time about how quick he is, and I think he's gonna be a great player. And it's good to see that the drafted player of the Derby City Colts is actually being featured in today's lineup, and he's gonna have to carry a lot of responsibility with a very strong Atlanta team. So we'll see how they'll do. I do rate them as the underdogs here, and as underdogs I do, they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, Shah Jahan Khan, as you mentioned, only 5'6" or 167 centimeters, weighing in at 60 kilograms or 132 pounds. Very light on his feet and loves to buzz around the court, but an extraordinarily talented player. Moving over to the home team, coaching will be Celia Pashley, a professional on the Pro Squash Doubles Tour, a former pro on the Singles Tour, and now based in Atlanta, doing great things for Atlanta Squash. And then we move over to the gunslinger, Yusuf Ibrahim, the number one overall pick in the first ever NSL draft in Nashville just over a month ago, Sean. We have talked at length on NSL Talk, our NSL-based podcast that you can find anywhere on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And we talked about this at length during the draft coverage of last month. And Yusuf Ibrahim, an attack-heavy player, very Jekyll and Hyde game. You never know what you're going to get. He's capable of beating the best players in the world on any given day, but sometimes he gets into a little bit of an error fest and can become very beatable when it comes to the guys that are ranked a few spots behind him. So really interested to see how the number World 15 fares here today following his up-and-down performance at the NSL exhibition match last month.
Yeah, really excited. I'm really just happy to see Yusuf being featured, coming all the way from Egypt, especially at such a tough time of the year with PSA World Championships coming up and 2 platinum events happening before. But he's on a rampage right now, beating Joel Macon, going 5 to Mesdin Hisham. So should be fantastic to see him being featured here. 2 lefties on this team, so should throw the other team off with Yusuf and David being featured here. So glad to see Yusuf here, and hopefully he's going to bring on the good momentum. And he's also the only experienced as player on the NSL format, so should see how he capitalizes on that.
And then we move on to the waiver wire pickup for Atlanta this week. Unfortunately, no Tom Walsh for the Atlanta Tornadoes. He just got called up to the senior team for the England national team, and he will be taking part in the World Championships coming up here. So huge shout out to Tom. And now we are going to take a look at David. And I was texting Mr. Timmy Brownell earlier this week. I said, how do you pronounce this gentleman's last name? I want to make sure I get it right. And he was actually with David. I believe he was hosting him throughout this week. And David was kind enough to send me a voice memo. How do I pronounce his name? I believe it is Mr. David Bayajan, who is going to be taking the court for the Atlanta Tornadoes this week. The King of the North, a very powerful player, a very powerful mover, and we are really looking forward to seeing David take the court here for the Atlanta Tornadoes, Sean.
I'm so excited to see. I don't know how on earth Atlanta was able to snag David from the waiver wires because of his quality. We know how good of a player he is. He's been featured in the PSA Platinum events, and you've seen him around. I'd say he's got the best hair in the PSA. Look at the hair. It's so luscious,
Great
but
do.
fantastic to see him being featured. Was always kind of curious why he wasn't a part of the draft, but glad to see him. He got picked up. Again, as I mentioned before, like Yusuf, he's also left-handed, so a lot of adjustments need to be made as there's two left-handed players on this team.
The world number 43, a steal off waivers for Atlanta. And then we're going to cap things off with the Argentinian Jeremiah Azania, a guy that really caught my eye a few months ago playing in his home tournament, the Gold PSA event at the Kinetic Squash Club in Boca Raton, Florida. He took on Nathan Lake, my favorite player of the Pro Squash World Tour, and took him to 5 games. This is a top 25 player in the world that we're talking about in Nathan Lake. And Jeremiah really put on an absolutely great performance on his home court on the glass at Kinetic, and a really exciting young talent from South America that we're looking forward to watching here tonight as well, Sean.
Yeah, he comes here to replace one of his good friends, as we know, if you've been following the socials of Tom Walsh. So I'm sure he comes with vengeance. I kind of want to give a quick shout out to Tom Walsh. I believe it's his birthday today, if you've been following along. So quick happy birthday. Show him some love on the social media. But Jeremiah, I mean, love his build. He's got a strong movement to the tee, and he's very a traditional player, but we know everyone in that Kinetic club has been doing wonders on the circuit. So looking forward to seeing what type of game he's able to show off today, especially in the NSL format.
We've got 2 stacked teams for you today. Opening day for the National Squash League. We are moments away, but we're going to take one more quick break here before we kick things off for the 2024 season. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Driving the most important initiatives for the growth of squash in the United States.
Thank you back for joining us and the NSL. We're going to go quickly over, if you guys are new joining into the NSL format, we're going to quickly go over the ruling behind it. As you can see on the screen, just going to read it out to you guys. How does this all work? So each team with 3 players competing over 3 periods of squash. The leading team by score after each period will win that leg of the match. Teams can sub their players on and off and use power plays to bring themselves to victory. So first of all, what are power plays? So power plays is that each team has a 2-minute power play each period and 1-minute power play the third period and the third leg. Only the team on power play can score points, and the defending team can win rallies and serve but not score points until the duration is up. No concurrent power plays can be played on both teams, so only one team can be playing the power play, and no power plays with 4 minutes or less on the clock, so you don't burn out the clock like that. Now, the running clock, how to explain the periods of it: 2 20-minute periods and third and final 30-minute period to end the match. And the first 2 legs are worth 1 point each. The final leg is worth 2 points. So even if one team wins the first 2 legs, it does not matter because the final leg could get you guys tied up. And now this is my favorite part, guys. If you are tied at after 3 legs, there's a 5-minute overtime with no subs allowed and 2 timeouts per period for subs, additional third timeout in the third period. If you guys have any questions, drop it down on the YouTube chat, and I'll be happy to answer it myself as well.
Awesome, Sean, and great summary of the rules. Kept it brief and kept it succinct, but kept it very easy to understand, as once again, moments away from the first ever regular season National Squash League match. We're about to witness history, and as we're getting set to do that, I'm not sure if we're getting ready to throw down to our MC for the evening, Justin Moore, or Julian Moore, rather. I apologize, and I believe that we're getting set up here when it comes to the MC and kicking things off. We're still waiting a little bit. So in the meantime, Sean, just talking about this matchup, we previewed the 2 teams. We have the visiting Colts, Shahjahan Khan, Joe White, and Dylan Huang, and then we have the home squad, Yusuf Ibrahim, the first overall pick in the 2024 overall draft, Jeremiah Azania from Argentina, and picked up off waivers, David Bayerjan, just for the listeners who were not able to catch that last segment. And I believe we're ready to get underway. So I'm going to throw down now to Mr. Julian Moore, our MC for the evening, or a master of ceremonies, if you will, to get things kicked off here from the Atlanta Community Squash Center.
Yo, 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 yo.
So, Sean, we previewed the 2 teams, and we are once again getting ready to get things going here in Atlanta. Who do you favor in matchup number 1 here of the NSL season? See if we can hear Sean.
I'd favor Atlanta Tornadoes heavily here with Yusuf and David, both being in the top 50 and are informed players, and Jeremiah being such a solid third option to bring it back. But I don't want to count the Derby City Colts out. But if I were to pick, I'd go with Atlanta. How about you, Jackson?
Yeah, obviously, Derby City without the second overall pick of the 2024 NSL draft. The man that Sean and I both believed should have been the number one overall pick in Victor Cruin. However, Atlanta is with their leader, Yusuf Ibrahim, who will be taking the court for the Tornadoes today. And I think it just comes down to availability. The top three picks for Derby City out for today. Now we still have three world-class players for Derby City, two firmly cemented in the top 100, and then one guy in Dylan Huang who is really playing at a top 100 level, but at 22 years old is just outside and needs a few more tournaments under his belt before he can solidify himself in that top 100. I would imagine he will get there by the end of the 2023-2024 PSA season. So I think that Atlanta take this here. I think that they were very fortunate to get Mr. David Baillargeon off waivers here, a top 50 talent in the world, just sitting there waiting for Tom Walsh to be called up for the English national team. And he's going to step in here and take over for the Atlanta Tornadoes, which I am really looking forward to watching him. Haven't seen much of his game. Got to see him play Juan Camilo Vargas in Houston, which was an absolutely outstanding match. Our friend Bill Buckingham on the call for that one, which was a great match to watch. But other than that, I haven't got to see David play too much. So I'm looking forward to see him in action. But like I said earlier, know how great Jeremiah is, another young up-and-coming guy training with Wael El Hindi down in Boca Raton, Florida, at the Kinetic Squash Center. And then Yusuf Ibrahim, the gunslinger, the 15th ranked player in the world, the number one overall pick in the NSL draft. I feel like on paper, Atlanta should take this one, Sean. But you never know when it comes to the NSL format. It is so very different, as you just informed us, from the traditional squash format. So you never know what's going to happen. And to kick things off, it will be the member of Team USA, originally from Pakistan, as we mentioned, but a firm member of Team USA, now based in California on the West Coast in San Francisco. It'll be Shahjahan Khan to kick things off for the Derby City Colts, and he will do battle to kick things off here with the aforementioned David Baillargeon, the Canadian, the newest member of the Atlanta Tornadoes. And as we're getting the ball warmed up, Sean, the excitement in Atlanta is palpable. The excitement from Granville, Ohio, for me is palpable, as once again, this is over a year in the making to get to this point. And I'm sure for you in New York City, New York, the center of the world, the excitement is all the same, as we're moments away once again from the NSL regular season kicking off. History that we're about to witness, Sean.
I'm looking forward to it. And I do want to say that as we saw Jackson at the exhibition of Team USA and Team World back a month ago, the importance of coaching and strategy. And I do want to say Lee Scott has been there from day one, so should be a very experienced coach. So if he could help with the Derby City Colts, it should be a great opportunity for them to cause an upset here. Hopefully their other teammates Veer and Victor are tuning in as well. But Jackson, wow, look at those jerseys. If you want to cop those jerseys, go on the NSL website and you can cop it, your favorite player or anyone you want. Any jersey that you're trying to cop, Jackson?
Yeah, I think that a Nashville Crushers Timmy Brownell jersey or a Newport Dragons Spencer Lovejoy jersey could be pretty iconic. In terms of the logos, Sean, I'm interested in what you like. I think the New York City Knights and the Chicago Grizzlies have the best logos. So I was eyeing potentially a Matthias Knudsen jersey. I think an Andrew Douglas jersey could be pretty sweet as well. So I think there are a lot of good options. And right now on the NSL website, there is a sale, 15% off all jerseys. And by the way, guys, half of the proceeds of those jerseys will go directly into the players' pockets. So if you want to support your favorite players in the National Squash League, head over to nsl.com, nslsport.com, the National Squash League website, and pick up a brand new NSL jersey. And they look awfully clean here this evening, Sean. And it's definitely something, an investment worth making to support the National Squash League, trying to grow the game in the United States and globally, and your favorite players. Sean, what jerseys are you looking at right now?
I mean, I think you said it best here. I also completely agree with you. I think the Chicago Grizzlies and the New York Knights jerseys and logo looks the best for me, so I'll definitely be helping them out. And also, it's a good shout that you let the people know that some of the proceeds goes to the players themselves. These players don't make it. Anything helps, and they're such fantastic athletes. So support them, support your favorite player any way you can. So this is another good opportunity, and which is why I think NSL is so fantastic. It's really about the players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Playing for the Tornadoes, David Diagion, and playing for Louisville, Shah Khan.
If you guys are watching on YouTube here, as we're moments away from National Squash League action kicking off, and you would like to be a part of pro squash history, make sure to smash the like button on the stream and also hit the subscribe button so you never miss an NSL match. We're just getting started this week. We have 2 exciting matchups coming at you next week, next Friday, and Saturday evening. We will be back at you with week 2 of NSL action. Don't miss your favorite players taking the court from Atlanta, from the Derby City of Louisville, from New York City, Chicago, Newport, Rhode Island, or last but not least, Nashville, Tennessee. And here's the racket spin. A good racket spin, but Sean, we are big racket spin guys, and I think that last time when Timmy spun the racket during the Team USA versus Team World exhibition, that was the top racket spin that I've seen in a long time. Right-handed from the lefty. Shah still has some work to do to get to that level as Bayarjan serves the ball, and we are underway. NSL coming at you live from the Atlanta Community Squash Center.
Opening rally with David with a quick unforced error. Maybe the nerves are getting to him.
These 2 players just trying to ease into things. Going to probably look to jockey for position here these first few rallies, and then we're going to get into some furious pace as Shah Jahan quits the deck and hits a winner a couple shots later. Just great weight of shot.
The flick of the wrist there.
Can't teach that.
I mean, both these players are very attritional, so hoping to see good opening rallies from both of them. Good hold by David.
David Bayarjan, the world number 43 and the Canadian number 1, as there's our
first decision
first
straight to
call
the lead. Never been a fan of that ruling of if you hit the player, immediate stroke. But glad to see the sportsmanship there.
3-1. Or 2-2-all, rather. Atlanta drawing even. Here's the replay. Dig there in the front right from Bayarjan. Lefty, 3-time Canadian national champion, is looking to claim his 4th national title next week at the Canadian National Championships in Calgary.
Oh, that's beautiful.
A winner.
Beautiful
There's
shot.
the advantage of being left-handed in professional squash. And he loves that.
Seems like David's loosening up here after that quick error at the beginning of the opener.
Starting to feel himself. And if he can get that kill going from balls that bounce kind of in that area, maybe a little bit looser, kind of the middle of the service box, let those fly in that match in Houston against Juanca Vargas a few months ago in that first game, as Shah Jahan with a pretty boast sends Bayarjan the wrong way. And he does not want to let this first set get away from him. Draws the score back within 1.
Great width by David. As the first mini lead of the first game, 5-3.
It's picture perfect. By Arjan. Awkward bounce there for Shah Jahan. A little frustrated with himself. He'll make the adjustment next time, certainly. One of the quickest players on the Pro Squash World Tour. Arjan working, Shah Jahan corner to corner here, putting major work into the legs of Khan. Shah Jahan telling himself, let's go, let's get going, trying to hype himself up. Arjan dictating traffic early here. And Atlanta has a 7-3 lead, 4.5 minutes in. And a substitution could be in store soon here, Sean.
That's a great point. We'll see how the coaches utilize their tactics. I see Jeremiah on the other court beginning to warm up. It's fascinating to see not many left-handed players on the Pro Tour right now, but having two featured on this Atlanta team right now.
Yusuf Ibrahim,
And another error.
highest ranked lefty on the Pro Squash World Tour, as we see Yusuf rolling out and Jeremiah's doing a little ghosting. Shah Jahan Khan, the U.S. number 2, is gone for the nick. And he's got it. Both players a little slow out of the gate here. Didn't roll that ball. So, gettable for Arjan. Both players still warming up.
Wow. What a get.
Not only his court, but format as well. That is a beautiful shot by Arjan. He has a knack for getting that ball to die in the back corners. Outstanding weighted shot. Here's Shah Jahan on the attack now, on the prowl. Sends Arjan the wrong way again. Costly error there. Shah Jahan, for the first time really in this opening period, was controlling that rally, working Arjan corner to corner, and an unforced error on the backhand volley drop. And Shah Jahan's going to want to make up some ground here before the first substitution of
He needed that.
one. The U.S. number 2. It's been a great addition for Team USA. Trains primarily in the Bay Area, San Francisco, and that's an absolutely gorgeous roller from David Arjan. I called that the Juanfe shot. Shout out to my Denison teammate, Juan Felipe Hernandez. Loves that in full court.
First substitution in play, Jackson, here, as both teams opting for the substitution with Dylan Huang and Jeremiah Hazana jumping on court. Let's see what Dylan can do to eat into this lead that Atlanta was able to do in this early period.
The world number 86, so young at only 23 years old. Dylan Huang, the world number 107, even younger, only 22. As we mentioned before the match got underway, a recent graduate of the University of Pennsylvania.
Dylan's pushing the pace here.
A fun fact for you, Sean. Jeremiah Zazania has played 19 tournaments, as he gets a fortunate nick there. On the left-hand side, has played 19 tournaments on the Pro Squash World Tour this year, which is the second most of any player ranked in the top 100. PSA World Tour and 19. Do you know who is number 1? Can you venture a guess in terms of who's played the most tournaments on the PSA Tour this season?
That's a tough question, Jackson. I'm gonna have to go with maybe Mustafa El Surti. I feel like I've seen him a lot and featured in the Challenger Tour right now.
El Surti plays a lot of those Challenger Tour matches, a couple satellites here and there, and is moving up the rankings, looking to cement himself in a lot of those gold and platinum events. It is not Mustafa El Surti. It is Faraz Khan, who Sean has played in 24 tournaments this season, and that's just thus far. So loves to get out there.
Wow.
And he says the off season is for training, and while the season's going on, I'm gonna rack up these points, I'm gonna rack up this prize money. And Faraz Khan 5 tournaments ahead of Azania as Huang makes another error. Atlanta really extending this lead out to 14 to 6, more than doubling up Derby City's score as we're about halfway through period number 1. The first 2 periods, folks, worth 1 point, while the third and final period, which is 10 minutes longer, the third period, 30 minutes instead of 20, worth 2 points. So even if a team drops the first 2 periods, they can still draw a tie in the third period and force sudden
Excellent
death.
rally going on here.
Zanya's gone for the nick. Huang pushing him back to the front, back right-hand corner.
Zana utilizing that hold in the front we've seen multiple times already in this first period.
This is
Pace
absolute
has gone
quality
up
for both players. Fast and furious. It's what the NSL is all about. Got a mega rally on our hands, Sean. Mentally huge for Huang. Zanya's gone for the corkscrew, no luck. That is absolutely huge for Dylan Huang mentally, getting things back here. Does not want to lose that rally. And he sends a message to Azanya that he can go blow for blow with him.
Really, this first period's about
It's
adjusting to
slowing
the
a little
court,
bit.
I think. Even with errors, I think it'll be fine, as you mentioned. The third period is where it also counts 2 points, so this might be, with the big lead they have right now, it might be a good opportunity to get used to the court conditions, as every courts are different. And maybe the Atlanta Tornadoes are utilizing the home court advantage. Maybe they had an extra day of practice on these courts.
Zanya taking a moment on that high-arcing drive from Huang to wipe the sweat off his face.
Wow.
And he hits a beautiful boast. It's a taxi and a half, Sean. Where is he going?
I went the wrong way on that
Huang
one.
needs a map to find that ball. Uh-oh. Bye-bye, see you.
And we are in power play right now, ladies and gentlemen.
And we have our first power play of the evening. Reminder, for these 2 minutes, Derby City cannot score. Only Atlanta able to score for these next 2 minutes. So we're going to see some fast and furious play. As there is an error. Or excuse me, Derby City has called the power play. So Dylan Huang going to look to go for the nick here. Going to look to take it in short. Going to attack. Because if he makes an error, it doesn't matter. As we just saw, Huang made an error on that last point. As he feathers that drop shot in. So since the power play has begun, we're tied up at 1-1 in points. However, only a point has been added to Derby City's score. And there's number 2. Remember, Atlanta can't score here. So Huang can go short without fear of making an error. Just looking to put the ball away as soon as possible. Really, if you can get 4 points on a power play, it's a very successful power play. 3 is pretty good, as Lasagna will certainly take his time to serve the ball here. Utilize and eat up some of that serve clock. He has 15 seconds rather, between points. But if you can get 4 points or more on that power play, it's usually pretty exceptional.
Fantastic defense
Absolutely
by Jeremiah.
Pretty for Lasagna. He really likes both these players. Great touch. They love to feather the ball in short, not looking to whack it like a Yusuf Ibrahim might.
25 seconds left. 20 seconds left.
Dylan Huang maybe looking a little bit tired as we're nearing the end of this power play. A little bit less zip on the ball than we saw about a minute and a half ago. Movement is stalling just a bit. Looks a step slower. I wonder if Lee Scott is getting set to make a substitution here following this power play. No substitutions allowed in the middle of a power play. And there's an unforced error from Huang. Dylan looks back to the Derby City bench, takes a moment to wipe the sweat off his face. And it looks like he'll remain. He's having a word with Lee Scott. And here comes the #1 overall pick, the gunslinger Yusuf Ibrahim. And here comes Joe White. Both teams out of substitutions for the first period. Joseph White taking on the world number 15 has 7 points to make up. A tall task in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's see if he can pull off some heroics here. And he's got 1 down, many more to go. And that's what we're talking about when it comes to Yusuf Ibrahim. A very beautiful backhand drop that leads to a stroke on point number 2, but on point number 1, a quick unforced error. You never know what you're going to get with the gunslinger. The only thing that is certain is we're going to see a quick-paced attacking playing style. And pardon me, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't even realize that we were on a power play. Atlanta looking to extend their lead even further, and there is off the serve return a winner. And he's gone for another nick. And this man can't miss. Here comes Ibrahim. Let ball, Joe White not happy. However, it doesn't matter. If it was a stroke, Derby City wouldn't get a point. As long as it's not a no-let. Maybe Joe White with some antics, trying to stall for time a little bit. Yusuf, so good, and a huge part of the reason is there's a winner to the back left corner. Great width on that cross court. A large reason that he was selected #1 overall was because of what he's capable on these power plays. Unbelievable wrist control, unbelievable attacking prowess. Classic Egyptian attacking playing style. And once again, flattened into the neck. That's 3 on this power play. Atlanta's running away with this thing as we are more than 75% of the way through period #1. Derby City's going to have to regroup here. Joe White just needs to survive these final 14 seconds. And there's the Australian. He should wait here. Don't serve it before the end of the power play. He has. He didn't need to do that. So if he wins this point here, he will not get anything added to the Derby City score. And that beautiful drop shot onto Ibrahim's backhand, the lefty, partially wasted for the Australian #1. The power play is over, but Ibrahim has not slowed down his pace of play. The 25-year-old celebrated his birthday in Nashville last month.
What a straight line
at
right
the
there.
first ever NSL draft. And what a gift it was for him to be the first overall pick, as he has come out of the gates firing here in the gate city of Atlanta. And so far he can't miss, Sean Choi. That's a great ball from Joe White and an even better retrieval. And we are...
Yeah, Joe White finds the nick there.
Drop. These nicks quite generous here at the Atlanta Community Squash Center. Players looking to take advantage of that. Joe White's got to go quick here, just over 3 minutes. It feels inevitable that Atlanta will take period #1. But I didn't hear a fat lady sing quite yet, Sean Choi. Yusuf is moving better than I have maybe ever seen him in his entire career. He's really buzzing around the court here, feeling really good. It looks like
he's told me he's been
an outrageous hold.
He's never felt healthier right now with his knee reoccurring knee issues he's had for the past couple of years. So it's a good time for him as PSA Champs goes on. I'm fascinated to hear what Joseph White thinks about the pace that Yusuf's hitting with the ranking difference they have.
Costly error. And reality setting in for Derby City. Lee Scott is going to have to regroup with his boys because the Colts are going to have a lot of work to do. They do not want to fall behind too early in periods. Yusuf putting on a clinic right now, quite frankly.
My goodness, he is not missing anything right now.
A lob.
When you let go of the wrist like that, it's just, if you're having a good day, it's unstoppable, especially for someone like Yusuf.
And it's tight, though, from Joe White.
He was able to squeeze the error out of that one. Fantastic to see that he is continuing. Oh, wow.
Wow. Just wow.
This is why they picked him number 1. I mean, this is the upside with Yusuf.
That is
it's really
unbelievable
unstoppable.
from the back.
I'm a bit speechless
Bounce
right now.
back
Just the
wall.
squash he's producing.
That's a nice hold from White. Give it up for that. Young Atlanta fans will be happy with how this first period is gone.
Twisting and turning.
And with all due respect, Joe White looks silly out there right now. Yusuf Ibrahim is
He's
doing his thing.
he's putting on a clinic. It's a little clinic for him right now, and it's a reality
This is the
check
Australian
of
number 1,
top
the world
20.
number 83, and Yusuf Ibrahim is showing why he was the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NSL Draft. Team owner Chad Hood has to be happy right now. Atlanta coach Celia Pashley has to be happy right now. Yusuf's teammates have to be thrilled with this effort from the world's top lefty, the world number 15, the former Princeton Tiger, former Ivy League Player of the Year. Joining the
Does have a
likes
lot of relationship. Wow, the tweener. Quite the
There's a
attempt.
tweener
little
from
too
Joe
ambitious.
White.
As we
Trying to-
end the
trying to get
first
going here.
period.
Atlanta takes game number 1. We have 2 frames left to play, Sean. This is far from over, but Derby City's
3
got a lot
minute.
of work to do to regroup.
3 minute.
3-minute break. Jackson, what did you think of that first period?
I mean, clearly, Yusuf Ibrahim has emerged as the story of period number 1. David Bayerjan did build that comfortable lead before Azania checked in. All 3 members of the Tornadoes played absolutely outstanding in that period. However, when Yusuf Ibrahim came on, there was an energy in the building. There's a certain electricity that he brought to the squash court immediately. He steps on court. Atlanta calls a power play. And right from the jump, he is letting the Knicks rain down on the Australian number 1, Joseph White. And this Atlanta team looks almost unstoppable right now. Derby City has a lot of work to do. Lee Scott and Shah Jahan Khan trying to talk up their boys here. We're going to throw down to MC Julian Moore, who has an exclusive interview with one of our coaches coming up here.
And right now.
A lot of changes need to be made right now for Derby City Colts as they move into the second session.
Coach, what kind of
Jackson, what do you think? What do you think they need to do better
in the second period?
We're going to try to back in the second period. So our boys are going to fight. Don't give too much away, but we're going to fight and see if we can get.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck.
And there's Lee Scott, the head pro at the Louisville Boat Club. Very involved and very formative in the creation, the founding, and the putting together of the National Squash League and this Week 1 opening matchup, who is serving as the coach of the Derby City Colts. I'm very curious to see how they
30 seconds.
Here as we're 30 seconds away from period number 2. Really intrigued to see who opens up this second period.
Starting for Louisville, Dylan Huang.
Both teams. Dylan Huang will kick things off for Louisville as we see Yusuf staying warm. The Princeton shorts, his college squash experience, formative in preparing him for a career as a professional. As we mentioned earlier, graduated from Princeton a couple years ago. Was very familiar with the team squash format. Won an Ivy League Player
Ladies and gentlemen,
of the
period
Year.
2. Can we have your applause and attention, please?
A switch up.
Score is 1-0 Tornadoes.
As we see two former CSA players going at it here, should be a Princeton UPenn rivalry. So it should be fascinating to see how Dylan is able to respond, or will Yusuf continue the rampage he was on the first period?
Quiet, please. Quiet,
Ivy
please.
Leaguers. Dylan Huang, undefeated his senior season at Penn in 2023. Yusuf Ibrahim, former Ivy League Player of the Year, joining the likes of Ramit Tandon, as well as Todd Harity, a fellow Princeton Tiger, and of course, the PSA World #1 Ali Farag. This is
fascinating to see
certainly
Yusuf's
a match here.
adjustment from the power play, a lot more attritional squash right now.
If Dylan can keep this close, or can even keep this tied before substitution is made, that's going to be absolutely huge for Derby City, as Dylan, the lowest ranked overall player in this matchup, Yusuf the highest. So Dylan can just keep this close within a point or two, he's done his job. Certainly a tough task for the 22-year-old to take on the world number 15 here.
Beautiful counter by Dylan.
Very pre-counter drop. Dylan Huang,
And when you ask a lot of players about Yusuf's strength, it's not just about the shot making ability, but it's really the pace he's able to hit at these balls that really surprise players, which is how quick he plays.
Huang guessing there a little bit. It's a great hold from Ibrahim. And Dylan Huang, we saw it right before he subbed off in period #1. We see it a little bit here. Normally an extremely fit player. Looks a little bit fatigued. Wonder if something's going on. Wonder if he's not feeling 100%.
Wow.
There's the
Jax, do we
error.
think he got that?
In great position. It looked good for me, but obviously tough to tell from this angle. I think Roulette is a very appropriate call. And you can't have that if you're Dylan Huang. You can't have unforced errors, second, third shot of a rally. When you're playing the world number 15. Yusuf massively shapes the ball and sends it for a straight drive. Dylan Huang, once again, much like his Derby City teammate Joe White last period, looks a bit lost out there. This is some of the best squash I've ever seen Yusuf Ibrahim play. Another error
As Lee Scott encourages his players to get more amped up.
Something worth noting here as well, Sean. Each player, by NSL rule, and he's going for the tweener, and that would have been one for the highlight reel. That's a heat check shot right there, Dion Waiters, but just clips the top of the 10. I think that's the only time that you're allowed to go for a shot like that is when your name is Yusuf Ibrahim and you're playing squash like this. But he follows it up with a beautiful drive down the forehand, low to the 10, powerful and tight as could be.
It's really just proving to be too much the level that Yusuf's playing at versus the Derby City Colts, as he jumps to a 7-3 lead in this second period. Shouldn't be too discouraging as we have a third period going on, but Dylan's got to do better than that.
As I was mentioning moments ago, power play here for the Colts. This feels ill-advised the way Dylan Huang is playing right here. Obviously, Lee Scott wants to make up some ground here. However,
I think it's just got to do with blocking the points that Yusuf was racking up right there.
And it could be, and that's actually an outstanding point by you, Sean, and he's received the stroke there. Yusuf Ibrahim, you may also argue, is not going to be the best player to defend the power play. Very attack-heavy, plays a lot of short rallies, isn't used to running around and retrieving balls and looking to lift and extend. However, the way that Yusuf is moving today, I don't know if he's necessarily the guy that you'd want to target, like has maybe been
I don't think you should underrate his defensive game, as he's already showing on display. He's slow balling the pace right now.
Yeah, but just something that I was mentioning earlier that I want to keep in mind is each player has to play a minimum of 15 minutes. Obviously, 70 total minutes of action in regulation, 2 20-minute periods, and a third 30-minute period. Each player has to play 15 minutes, so you can't just have your two best guys out there completely dictating the action. Got to get everyone involved, as that's absolutely picture perfect on the forehand drop for Yusuf Ibrahim. Delivered to the backhand. Or excuse me, backhand drop by Yusuf Ibrahim, delivered to the forehand of Dylan Huang. And Huang has got to get going here on this power play. That lob from Ibrahim, not great, but just good enough where it put Huang in a difficult position where he couldn't really make a great attacking shot, and that's all that matters. Yusuf doesn't need to hit winners here, even though he has there almost by accident a working boast into the front. Just so deceptive, so well placed, unable to be retrieved by Dylan Huang. And that is picture perfect from Ibrahim. And Derby City down 8-6, however, without a power play remaining. Shahjahan Khan checking on for Derby City, the highest ranked player in action for the Colts here today. Victor Kruin, the second overall pick in the NSL draft, couldn't be here today. Normally the top player for the Derby City Colts. And Shahjahan Khan coming in with a bang, a beautiful drop shot on the forehand side. Has a lot of work to do here.
Despite all that on the scoreboard, the Colts are only 2 points down. So let's keep in mind that it isn't over for them. Beautiful
wow.
Shot by Shahjahan Khan.
These Knicks here in Atlanta feeling like an ocean for these players, especially Yusuf Ibrahim. And Shah draws it even. Wow. Shahjahan Khan, one of 3 of his first 4 points early here. Let's see if he can slow down Yusuf. When Ibrahim's hitting shots like that, it's going to be very hard to do so. lot of these nicks from Ibrahim too, out of the blue. It's not like these players are hitting loose drives, and Ibrahim is capitalizing.
Are we playing a let?
I remember that forehand cross nick from the back corner to the front, from the back left corner to the front right corner, late in the first period.
That forehand is just lethal. Wow.
And after just over 8 minutes of work, Yusuf Ibrahim has acquired a 2-point lead for the Tornadoes. However, they still have a power play in their back pocket. Derby City does not. Ibrahim has been a nightmare for the Colts so far here tonight. This is a completely different version of the world number 15 than we saw in the Team USA versus Team World exhibition match last month. That'll be a stroke for Jeremiah Sasanya, looking to extend this lead and take a 2-0 lead over Derby City heading into the third period.
What a
wow!
That sent me the wrong way.
That sent me the wrong way.
How he
I
straightened that
twitched
up.
my chair a little bit there, Sean Choi.
I didn't know he had that in his arsenal.
Almost pulled a muscle sitting down in my chair here in Granville, Ohio.
Everything is just clicking for the Atlanta Tornadoes today. Let's see if this could last forever. Showdown pulls one back. Oh, wow.
Oh, he's hit the 10.
I guess that was down.
That looked good. His
Fooled
body was
both of
blocked.
us, Jackson.
Yeah. Almost a brilliant shot. Oh, and that's tight from Khan, but a beautiful counter from Azania. Now he's in control of the rally. This has been hard-hitting squash since Azania's checked in here.
Oof.
Feels like a bit of a fish there, Sean Choi.
I thought so too. Showdown's pushing the pace up, and I think it's working.
Yeah, lots of heavy movements for Azania here these past few rallies. To Shaw's credit, there's another one. It's a beautiful drop shot into the front right corner.
Good momentum by Shahjahan Khan.
Shahjahan really starting to control these points and putting a lot of work into the legs of Jeremiah Sazania, the Bullfrog, as he's known. Trains at the Kinetic Squash Center under head coach Wal El-Hindi. His Atlanta Tornadoes teammate who couldn't make it here tonight, Tom Walsh, is his training partner at Kinetic. We mentioned earlier, 19 tournaments in the last year for Azania. Loves to get out there and compete, and then in the off-season partakes in some absolutely brutal workouts at Kinetic. Amanda Sobey sisters in Boca Raton with Coach Wall as well. That is really nice.
The severity on that was unbelievable.
Once again, perfect width, perfect placement, perfect weight of shot. Shahjahan Khan starting to feel it. Felt a little bit sloppy that first period and that first couple minutes when he checked in here in the second period, but he's really starting to feel his game now. There's some error from Azania, and it almost feels like the momentum is beginning to shift in favor of the Colts.
It's a tie game. What a shot. Shaw is on fire right now. That's the first time the Colts have the lead.
Wow.
That backhand side is working wonders for him right now.
Shahjahan Khan is picking up points, and he's doing it in quick fashion here. Usually not his style. He's not known for his attacking, but right now, soft touch on a lot of these straight drops on both sides. There's another one. The shot's not going to be a winner, but it's going to put him in prime position. Lozania turned that point around quickly. Nice lob. Followed it up with a beautiful finish to the combination in the front right-hand corner.
Might be worth thinking of putting David back in, considering how well he did in that first session against Shah Jahan.
It's a great call, Sean. Another error. David Bayerjan, so tough, so physical, such a powerful player, and here he comes.
Double sub and a power play from the Atlanta Tornadoes. A lot of things are happening right now, Jackson. Should be exciting next couple minutes.
Sean, the MVP of this period so far, by far, Shahjahan Khan. We saw it all from him there. Long, extended rallies, putting major work into the legs of Azania, which allowed him on the backhand of that shift to really go for attacking shots. And he extended the lead for Derby City up to 3. Atlanta looking to close the gap on the power play here. If they can take the lead after this power play, they'll be very happy. Joe White just looking to extend these rallies if he can. Keep the ball in play. Bayerjan loves that straight kill from the middle of the court. We'll see if he goes for any of those here. And that's 2 points in the first 40 seconds for the Canadian on the power play.
Should be interesting for Joe White. He hasn't
White
played
responds.
a right-handed player today so far, so quite the adjustment from what he probably usually is exposed to.
An absolutely outstanding point, Sean. Stroke for White. Doesn't matter if it's a let or stroke. Derby City can't score any points right now for the next 60 seconds, and that was a really nicely done 45-plus second rally that was ultimately won by Joseph White, eating up the clock on that power play. Derby City cannot score for the next 48 seconds. Only Atlanta can. They have called their power play. And Lee Scott looking much smarter now than I initially gave him credit for calling that power play early in this period to stop the bleeding from Yusuf Ibrahim.
What a get.
Against Dylan Huang, and Joseph White really absorbing here. Looking like Spencer Lovejoy in that initial exhibition last month. And
What
there's
a
the kill.
shot!
Send him home. A roll and a half. And the pace is furious now. Joe White has 10 more seconds. This will be the last point of the power play. Whoever wins this point ultimately will determine the success of the power play. If Atlanta can rack up 4 points here and take the lead, they've found themselves in good position. But if Joe White holds Atlanta to 3 points on the power play, then he's
Seems like Joe White
absolutely
has warmed up.
done a
He's
really
just
great
getting to
job.
everything right now.
Bayerjan
What a
does
fantastic
not need
performance
to
by
attack
him.
or go for anything here, because regardless of how long it takes him to finish this point, the result will be the same. So he can go straight, stay away from his more attacking playing style and just focus on winning the rally, since this will be the last point of the power play. There's White digging that out of the backhand corner, and a beautiful drop. Signals for the
Wow.
double, and Bayerjan concedes. We are tied up with under 4 minutes to go, all to play for in period number 2. If Atlanta wins, they could take a commanding 2-0 lead. If Derby City wins, then we will be tied up at 1 set apiece, and we will have everything to play for in the 30-minute period number 3. You don't want to miss the third period. 2 power plays for either team, an extra substitution for either team, and an extra 10 minutes of squash. That third period worth 2 points instead of 1. This match is never over until it's over. The NSL format, we've seen some fast and furious squash here from the Atlanta Community Squash Setter. Tied up at 18 in period number 2. Both of these guys have certainly found their groove. Some sloppy squash from Joe White in the first period, but he's really feeling himself now. Both these guys completely adjusted to the courts. They are playing on a 17-inch Pro tin, which has led to some extraordinarily exciting fast-paced squash, and that'll be a massive stroke for Bayarjan. White complains. It's the right call for me. Sean, what say you? Ball popped way
I
up.
think it's right. I think it's the right call.
Point.
It's just good quality squash right now. I think the both players are just playing it out. It's good to see that NSL does have the quick fire, but also just the attritional squash as well, especially in a period like this.
It's a great shot from Bayarjan. White's going to want to regroup here. So we're approaching the 2-minute mark. Only 1 point separating these two teams. No substitutions
And
remain.
there's that quality from David.
No. Once
As
again,
Joe White is
feels
not
like White
happy
went
with the
wrong
call.
way there. See, he went to the left first and then tried to recover to the right. It's just half a second behind. I think no, that's the right call there. An error from White, and this lead quickly ballooning out to 4 now for Bayarjan. World number 43 versus the world number 83 in White.
Seems like a lot of his stamina was taken out from the power play, and now David's reaping the benefits of the post power play action, which is fascinating to see.
Some beautiful squash. After the first 30 seconds of that power play, the last minute and a half, played some really outstanding squash. And he needed
Funky
that
bounce. This Joe White's not wasting a
match. White's got to
second.
go quick here. Seconds ago, Joe White's got to make something happen quickly. Bayarjan controlling the tee here.
Wow, this is quality squash going on right now.
This is really quality. Joe White playing great defense, but does not really have any attacking opportunities, and that's just what he needs down 3. But just quality shots from both players. It just looks like it's going to be too little too late for the Australian. There's the ball that's glued to the sidewall, but the Aussie is not going to have enough time. In that period, much closer. Shah Jahan Khan, the story of the period, as these two guys are just playing out this final rally. Shah Jahan Khan, really great shifts against Jeremiah Cezanne. Put a lot of work into Cezanne's legs the first half of his time on court, and then the second half started going for more attacking opportunities. And against a fatigued Argentinian, was able to rack up some points here. It's just not quite enough for Derby City, but they have narrowed the gap certainly from how dominant Atlanta was in that opening period, and that's another great rally.
Glad to see David fighting for that, because I just realized that he could have just dropped that point and it wouldn't have mattered at all. But glad to see the extra effort from David there.
Absolutely. And once again, Shah Jahan Khan, to me, despite being on the losing team of that period,
3 minutes.
MVP of that frame.
If you'd like to get
most
food and drink,
definitely.
please do it now.
And
3 minutes.
food and drink. No food and drink for us, Sean. I have my little water jug here, so I'll take a sip. In the meantime, how do you feel about how that second period went? Derby City really narrowing the gap here. What do they have to do to take this period number 3 and force a sudden death overtime period?
I think that was a lot more encouraging signs from them. I think they handled that a lot better. I remember we questioned the early power play used by Lee Scott there, but it paid off. I'm glad to see the adjustments were made. I think the biggest point is, how are they going to mitigate Yusuf Ibrahim, and how are the Tornadoes going to be utilizing Yusuf? Because both teams don't know how who's going to be matched up with who until the game begins on the third period. But then again, they are down 2 points, but it doesn't matter as we head to the third period, as this period counts as 2, as they have an opportunity to tie it up. Jackson, what do you think so far?
Yeah, I think that if Shah Jahan Khan can play the same level of squash and play with the same intensity that he did in that second period, Derby City could be in good shape here. However, Yusuf Ibrahim is going to be dangerous. So we'll see if he is the opener, we'll see if he plays the middle shift, or we'll see if he closes things out for Atlanta, because I could see Derby City goes up 5-6 points within the first 12 minutes and Ibrahim checks on to close things out. I could see Ibrahim making up a lot of ground in a very short period of time. So it'll be interesting to see the strategy from Celia Pashley, the Atlanta head coach, and the Atlanta Tornadoes here in this matchup, Sean. And what a successful opening day thus far for the National Squash League from the Atlanta Community Squash Center. 2-0.
Jackson, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who do you think is going to take the third period?
It's a great question, Sean. And my broadcaster hat and my heart is telling me
1 minute.
I would like to see an overtime sudden death period. I would like to see Derby City come back here. However, my brains and my head telling me it just feels like whenever Yusuf Ibrahim steps on the court, if he continues to keep up the pace of play and the quality of play that we have seen from him thus far, it's going to be very hard for Derby City to hang in there. And so honestly, Dylan Huang did it within, kept Derby City within 2 points there. But during that Ibrahim shift, however, it was with the use of a power play. Yusuf Ibrahim, the X factor here to close things out. We're going to take a quick break ahead of the third frame of play here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back ahead of the third and all-important period.
Driving the most important initiatives
Time,
for the growth of
please.
squash in the United States.
Welcome back to NSL
Celia,
opening
what are you
day.
going to do differently in the third period? You've got a 2-0 lead. Is there anything that you're going to do differently in this longer period?
I think
Celia
we've been doing
Pashley,
pretty
the
well.
Atlanta
We
Tornadoes
maybe got
head
it a little
coach.
bit more stressful on the second one, so we're going to try to avoid that and make it a bit easier on the players, not to be stressed with the score being so close. But I think we're handling it pretty well. I trust the players to get the job done, so I think we're looking good.
Very good. Congrats on the lead.
Celia Pashley, one of the best players on the
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Pro
find your
Squash
seats.
Women's Doubles Tour. Coaching the Tornadoes here today. The home
Should be
team
exciting,
playing
a new
host.
match.
Okay,
matchup
we
here.
have the third period. The score
Derby
is
City
Atlanta
Colts.
Tornadoes 2, the Derby City Colts 0. The third period is worth 2 points. It is 30 minutes. There are 3 substitutions and 2 power plays in this period.
Shah Jahan Khan will do battle. And Jeremiah Zanya.
The clock.
The Bullfrog getting set to serve here to open up period number 3. 30 minutes to decide if Atlanta will win this thing outright or if Derby City can force a sudden death period.
Should be a fascinating matchup here. Both players, we haven't seen this matchup before, have we, Jackson?
We have not. And Azania, 23 years old, really bursting onto the pro squash scene this year. Bright future ahead of him. Khan, more experienced. Actually, one of the older players in the National Squash League at 29. It's a very youthful league.
Oh,
it's a great retrieval.
Very impressed by Jeremiah's backhand. He's got a good hold and attack on that side.
Really great technique. Great techers, in the words of our boss, Timmy Brownell, and just tough to read him on that backhand side. You're absolutely right, Sean.
Oh, Shaw just showing his quality there. We know what he's capable. Again, he's been top 30 in the world. He's had a bit of a dip of form this year, but doesn't matter. We know what he's capable of.
It's so hard to win a point off a back wall boast at the front on a drop shot, Sean. It's so hard. Usually we see guys go for a kill or we see them punch it to the back, but to feather it in, it has to be picture perfect to win a point in that manner, and Shah Jahan Khan did just that. And after the error from Azania, Derby City taking a 2-0 lead. They absolutely need this period to force sudden death overtime.
I really do think they need to build a
worth
big
2
lead
points.
here.
You have to expect Yusuf Ibrahim to do some damage whenever he does check in. We'd imagine he'll be the closer for Atlanta.
Good catch.
So Derby City's going to want to build up a lead here before the world number 15 checks in for the Tornadoes. It's a wee bit cheeky from Zanya, but it'll result in a stroke.
Shaw's not happy
Atlanta
with that
draws their
extended swing.
first blood of period number 3.
Jeremiah ties it up. This is not good for the Colts. Colts need a lead.
Lee Scott verbal on the sidelines, trying to energize his players. That's
the way he's just able
Zanya.
to take the pace off the ball. That's just excellent technique and just a very advanced
Cut on
skill
the ball.
right there.
Wow. Some major pressure on Khan here. Cannot allow Atlanta to lead here by more than a point or 2 by the time he checks off. Because the Tornadoes have
I'm gonna take a guess here that
factor on the
I'm gonna
sideline.
take a guess here and think that Yusuf's gonna be featured in the third as the last player on.
Agree, Sean.
What a beautiful nick there. Just always seems to be a slightly more sense of urgency in the third period, Jackson, between the players, and I love it.
So much excitement building here. Love to see
Fantastic.
a
It seems like
overtime
always
period.
one team plays better in the first period, second period, the other team responds, and the third period, both teams are fully warm. With
It's a great
Jeremiah
kill
with another
shot
kill.
from the Bullfrog. Remember, 30 minutes this period. Each team has an extra sub. So, Sean, we could see Yusuf Ibrahim. Derby City calling a power play. So I was saying we could see Ibrahim check in here in a few minutes, check off, and then come back in for the last 7 or 8 minutes. And that's a beautiful shot from Shah Jahan Khan to kick off the power play. Remember, each team has 2 power plays here, the first of which 1 minute. The second will be 2 minutes. So a quick power play for Derby City. The more elongated power play will come later in the frame. Zazanya's absorbing
Beautiful
here.
get.
I think just enough contact to warrant a yes let.
Sean
Agree
could
with the
not serve
referee.
faster on that.
Shot is ready to go. That could be a no let.
It's getting tense out there, Jackson.
Missed the decision.
Incentive
given.
between the
Yeah,
players.
Sean, this is not an exhibition like we saw Team USA versus Team World. There is money on the line here, and both
What
of
a
these teams
hold.
looking to win the South Division in order to play in the NSL Finals. These two teams are both going to play the Nashville Crushers in each of their respective second matchups of the season as the power play comes to a close. Successful 1-minute power play there for Shahjahan Khan. Looks really sharp today in these second and third periods. But both of these teams are going to end up playing Nashville at one point, and one of the three teams, Derby City, Nashville, and Atlanta, one of those three teams are going to find themselves in the NSL Finals at the Arlen Specter Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, June 21st, where we will crown the first ever National Squash League champions. So all to play for here in this matchup. Winner of this, all the more likely to find themselves at the Specter Center in June. So much to play for, and that's
Sean's
really
having a hard
nicely
time
done
reading the
from Azania.
backhand front corner. It's very interesting to say.
As you pointed out earlier, Sean, Azania, such a great hold on that backhand. So hard to read. There's a costly error.
That's the flip side. That's the flip side of the error right there.
It's a tight drop from Azania. Great lob from Khan. See if he goes for the straight drop again. He does, and Azania read it that time. Goes for the same shot as he did on the last back wall boast, and that time Azania was right there waiting for it, and the rally continues. That's a squeeze from Khan. Azania went for the boast, perhaps not the correct shot choice there, and that drop was absolutely glued to the sidewall. The team from Louisville looking to build up a
Out,
lead.
squeezes an error as he builds a very tiny lead at 8-6 right now.
Such tight work here from Khan in the opening portion of this third period.
Khan, the only drafted player, really stepping it up for his team right now in this third period, where it really matters to them right now. Good hold.
Worth noting, we're currently watching the highest ranked player for the Derby City Colts taking on the lowest ranked player for the Atlanta Tornadoes.
Let ball there. As the kids are enjoying
Young fans,
the
grab some
chips.
snacks, get some guacamole over there. You a salsa or guacamole guy, Sean?
Guac all day,
What did I
baby.
just say? Guacamole? Guacamole. I apologize.
No, you got it
I
right.
missed your answer. Okay, I was
Guac
I
all
blacked
day.
out for a moment there. Guac all day. I would have to agree, especially when they Mexican restaurants, the legit Mexican restaurants, they make it in front of you. That's prime. That's
All right,
really good
the
stuff.
quality of Shaw is finally shining through with a 3-point lead and timely substitution as
Here
the
comes man
Tornadoes are
from
not risking
Quebec
any
City.
lead here.
Biojan, 3-time Canadian national champion.
As the
World
time
number
is
43.
paused right now.
Best man bun in professional squash today.
And best hair. I'm going to have to repeat it. Best hair in the game right
Best-
now.
I'd love to see him just let it flow. I'd love to see him let go of the man bun and just let it flow out there.
Might be a safety hazard on court, but
Would be a safety hazard, I think. Could get in his eyes. Could whack his opponent on his way back to the tee with
Yeah, with that
those
luscious flow.
locks. Yeah. Dangerous. Wonder if there's
Fascinating.
something about them in the rule
fascinating
book.
to see. Shaw's probably all warmed up and David jumping back on court immediately in a high-paced rally.
Great point. Standing point.
I'm going to say it's going to favor Shaw in this beginning period, but We know David's quality.
Wow.
Ooh, soft call in my
It's
opinion.
a generous
but,
give.
alright.
That's a generous give. It's not obviously a loose ball from Shahjahan Khan, but it looks like Bayerjan maybe had enough room to play. I think a safety let might have been a better call there. As there's an error from Shahjahan
Great
Khan.
tactic
He's
from the
been good
Tornadoes.
at avoiding the 10.
Great tactic from the Tornadoes as immediately as Shaw built the 3-point lead, they opt for the substitution. And we know how well David played against Shaw in that first period. So tactical brilliance and immediately ties up the game.
Quick from Bayerjan to even things up for Atlanta. Shahjahan hits the deck, touching earth there on that rally. Here comes substitution. Dylan Huang. The first of 3 substitutions for the Derby City Colts. Lee Scott throwing.
Fascinating to see that
Dylan
Dylan
Huang
Huang is
next.
opting to wear the goggles. Jax, what are your thoughts on the goggles?
The goggles are fascinating choice. For me, I'm always in favor of eyewear. I tore my
David
retina as
asked
a
you
young
for that.
lad
Oh no.
about 7 or 8 years ago. So ever since, I've made sure to make sure I wear my eyewear, especially as a junior squash slash collegiate squash player. I have very little choice. But Dylan Huang on the Pro Tour now choosing to go for the eyewear still. I'll have to ask him about that at some point. And that is a squeeze and a half for Dylan, bringing this back. And the more I think about this, I'm confused as to why Atlanta did not start things off with Yusuf Ibrahim. Because obviously Atlanta only has 3 substitutions, so inevitably Yusuf will be the next sub for Team Atlanta, but he
I mean,
will
the
not-
quality
if
of Tornadoes,
Atlanta-
they have the luxury of having quality players like David. Just wow, beautiful line.
That's a great ball. Once again, the weight of shot and the tightness on some of these straight drives from the front from Bayerjan is absolutely fantastic. He has a knack for that straight ball low to the tin. Once again, we'll see if he executes any more of those kills from the midline. Putting major work in the legs of Dylan Huang now, controlling the tee. But I suppose that wow, and Dylan
What a
Huang
hold.
sending Bayerjan the wrong way.
So back to Canada on that one. Classic
Canadians.
USA-Canada battle.
His legs, knees trembling. It's a really
David
nice
utilizing
ball.
the low kill. It's been doing him wonders this entire
It's a great angle,
match.
great width. I suppose when we talk about Yusuf Ibrahim, Atlanta does have the luxury of not necessarily using all 3 of their substitutions. So perhaps Yusuf Ibrahim comes on here in another 4 or 5 minutes and he just plays out the last 13, 14 minutes. I suppose we could see that. And there is what I like to call the Wapow shot.
Costly error from Dylan right
Edison
there.
Squash loves little Wapow action and doesn't end up working out for Dylan Huang. Makes the error unforced. Atlanta now leads 13-11. All well good from Huang. Great lob. Bayerjan really makes great use of his power. Not necessarily playing at the fastest pace, but it's such a powerful shot. And putting Huang in a lot of uncomfortable positions. There's a grunt from the French Canadian.
2 really gutsy players as their reputation, so fascinating to see this battle.
And Sean, we just might be getting treated to a mega rally here, and there's the double bounce.
Much needed from Dylan. What a rally.
Massive for Dylan, not only in terms of putting a point on the scoreboard for the Colts, but also for his psyche, knowing that he can win those long rallies against the very fit, very tough Bayerjan. Over 60 spots higher in the PSA World Tour rankings is the man sporting the Tornadoes jersey. But Huang holding his own here as we're about to reach the midway point of period number 3.
Oh, what a rally again. Good hands.
Wow, that is outstanding defensive squash from Dylan Huang. Shah Jahan Khan approves. David Bayarjan dictating that rally completely, controlling the tee, but it did not matter. Dylan Huang hanging in there and ultimately winning the point in that front right corner, excuse me. And Bayarjan's backhand side, slightly weaker side. Such a great forehand for the Canadian.
As we see Yusuf warming up on the other court there. Dangerous times ahead.
Derby City trailing 1. Lee Scott perhaps a bit nervous.
And he forces an error.
And he had Dylan Huang there. The Penn grad guessed incorrectly. All Bayarjan needed to do was put it above the tin there. And Huang draws Derby City back even. It's a great working boast. And loose from the Canadian, it will result in a stroke in favor of the American. Derby City back into the lead here, 15-14. What a great shift from Dylan Huang here. This is by far the best squash we've seen him play all day. Absorbing, and picking his spots beautifully.
Oh, he's playing
Bayarjan
fantastically
responds,
well.
however. He's playing really well this period. Seeing flashes of what he could be capable of in the years to come. Only 22 years old, one of the youngest players in the National Squash League. That's a
As
stroke.
David returns the favoring, squeezes an error. See Dylan's slightly tired and timely substitution from Lee Scott.
Great shift from Dylan Huang. And here comes Joseph White. A man devastated after missing the 2022 Commonwealth Games, and ever since has been on an absolute tear. Inserted himself into the World Top 100 earlier this season, and now finds himself 83rd in the world, the #1 player from Australia. And here he is, a big-time moment for him. Joe White, a big advocate for mental health, which is absolutely fantastic to see.
That's great to hear.
Named Mental Fitness Ambassador for the Australian Institute of Sport. Very involved in the mental health and well-being of the junior squash players and athletes all across Australia, which is absolutely fantastic. And we'll see if he can shine through here in the all-important third period for the Colts.
Heavy movements from Joe White right now.
It's absorbing well, though. Great retrieving, but
This might be devastating as Yusuf warms up on the other court.
Now, worth noting,
Taji,
City does still have one more sub. And that's just beautiful squash from David Bayarjan, working Joe White corner to corner. Finishes it in the front left-hand corner. And Shah Jahan Khan can still check back in here, so maybe Shah Jahan will be the Yusuf Ibrahim stopper in this third period. Didn't find much success in period number 1, but in periods number 2 and 3, Shah Jahan Khan has looked really strong. And we'll see, though, if he can do it against the world number 15, the gunslinger Yusuf Ibrahim.
Twisting and turning him right now.
When we've seen him on the court here tonight. David Bayarjan really impressive.
Doing a lot of damage
here for Atlanta. It's hard to believe that this was a waiver wire pickup earlier this week for the Tornadoes.
I think they need to do an investigation on
pivotal. Been absolutely crucial. Certainly suspect, Sean Shea. Obviously, 24 players drafted last month in Nashville, but so many talented players just waiting for a phone call, waiting for an opportunity. And David Bayerjan taking full advantage of his, but there's a rare error for him.
Now, this is the most important part
today.
as Yusuf enters into the court. How is White going to respond to this? We
Yusuf
hope that he's able to contain
any
him.
Time to ease in. He's going to go for the power play instantly right from the jump. It's not going to take a point or two to warm up, get in the swing of things. Right here,
Immediate
right
power
now,
play?
Atlanta's first power play. Each team with a 1-minute power play and a 2-minute power play during the third period. Derby City has already called their 1-minute power play.
Wow.
Atlanta electing to go
Tops,
for their
man.
2-minute power play. And off the serve return, Ibrahim wasting no time. It took him about 3 seconds to get point number 1 on the board. Joe White already a little bit fatigued. This could mean trouble. And to your point, Sean, these could be the 2 most important minutes of the entire match. That'll be a stroke. Yes, it is.
Does not matter, though.
He won't be awarded a point, but it'll give him an opportunity to take a breather.
Interesting call.
Stroke given for the ref. Ibrahim a bit confused. Minimal contact, but definitely a loose shot from Ibrahim. What would you give there, Sean?
I would give a let or no let, not a stroke.
Yeah, I think that Joe White seemed almost certain it was a stroke. Perhaps his confidence threw the ref off a little bit. And Joe White, great
Joe
width on
White's
the
very
cross
warm.
court.
That's the flip side of things, right? How warm the
There he
player
goes,
is
taking his
when
time.
the player's substitution happens.
And Sean, Ibrahim hit that serve return straight drop winner 3 seconds into this power play and hasn't won a point since, and we're 35 seconds away from Joseph White pulling off a miraculous power play defense against one of the most gifted attacking players in professional squash today, the gunslinger, the #1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, Yusuf Ibrahim. Joe White has come alive here in period number 3, and that'll be another stroke.
It's fantastic
Lee
defense by
Scott
Joe White right now.
approves. Really good stuff, and this will be the final point of the power play. As the clock hits double zeros, does White have one more point in him? I have to imagine we're getting ready for Derby City's final substitution.
What a hold.
Shahjahan Khan, and that's a great retrieval off an excellent hold from Ibrahim. A great adjustment. White went the wrong way, recovered beautifully. Now finds himself even back in this point with heavy legs, and
Excellent
Yusuf
defense.
makes the error. Take a bow, Joe White. One of the best power play defenses we've seen all season. He dropped 1 point on the first shot hit by Yusuf Ibrahim of that power play. And after that, held strong. A few strokes in there for the Aussie. And now Derby City with a 2-point power play in their back pocket. Atlanta still has a power play remaining, but it is their 1-minute power play.
A fantastic defense by
4-point
Joe White,
lead,
but that
though,
must have done
for this
damage to
tornado.
him.
Absolutely. I think if I am Lee Scott, I'm getting Shahjahan Khan in the match as soon as possible, as we've just reached the 8-minute mark of the third period. Once again, all to play for in this all-important third period. Derby City looking to draw even. This third period worth 2 points. A stroke for Joe White brings Derby City within 3, and there's the substitution. This third period worth 2 points. Derby City looking
And
to
immediately
tie
into
things
the
up.
power play. Great tactics by Lee Scott here.
Power play signaled for by Derby City. Derby City looking to send this to a sudden death overtime by tying it up 2-2 if they can win this period. Atlanta looking to win outright if they can hang on to this 3-point lead. This power play so important for Shahjahan Khan. He's been the X factor for the Colts here today. Has played so well in both the second and third period thus far. And a huge 2 minutes here for him. Wow. Beautiful. And what is Yusuf Ibrahim looking for? That ball was picture perfect.
He's not quite happy with that decision.
Minimal interference.
I think he thought the ball bounced up a little bit. As Yusuf responds back.
There's Ibrahim. Shahjahan doesn't seem too worried as Atlanta does not score a point there. And
Wow.
that's beautiful off the serve return. Shahjahan feeling it all day. A minute 24 seconds remaining. Already 2 points here. He'll be very happy if he can take the lead here in the next minute and 20 seconds. It's a great lob, reset. And he's so good at building rallies in the back and then taking the ball in short when given the opportunity. Picks his spot so well, and that's clever.
Very clever by him.
Cheeky. He's gone for the wapow, as it's known here in Granville, Ohio.
Excellent hold there.
Hopefully it can come out to
Shots flare really coming
us and
through
give
here in
us
the
a
third
clinic on
period.
that shot.
Beautiful drop shot. Not a chance.
Really good from Yusuf. No lead, absolutely not. Heat of the moment, heat of the battle. I understand these players asking for those calls. And Shahjahan put his hand in the air, but the point wasn't over, and Ibrahim absolutely got that ball. He's got to keep his head in the game here. This will likely be the final points of Derby City's final power play, with the gunslinger Yusuf Ibrahim, the #1 overall pick, in right now. Huge point. Derby City still has a 1-minute power play in their back pocket. This is massive for the Colts to see if they can take a lead here, and they can't do it. Atlanta with just over 5 minutes to play.
Double checks if the power play is over.
Derby City out of timeouts. Atlanta with 1 left, but I would have to think that Yusuf Ibrahim is going to be the man to close things out for the Tornadoes here. And Atlanta responds with a power play of their own. Their final 1-minute power play. This will be the final power play of the match today. Shahjahan absorbs an error from Ibrahim. He's going to take his time. A nice afternoon stroll to the service box. Shahjahan looks for a call, and it'll be a yes let. Shahjahan asking why Derby City didn't get a point. However, Atlanta is on the power play. He can't score here. He's just looking to absorb. This will likely be the final point of the power play. Atlanta up 1, and there's certainly enough contact for something there. Yes, let is given. Sean, you seem to disagree. I thought that was the right call.
I thought there was a lack of effort there, and he didn't know where it was going.
I thought that just
what do I know?
Yusuf was in Shahjahan's backswing just enough, obviously. Khan didn't swing or play the ball, but it looked like he's just a little crowded. Sean, however, the former NESCAC Rookie of the Year, so we defer to him on most refereeing decisions. Wow.
Good
Khan! Oh my goodness.
Great rally, Jackson.
Folks, this is squash right here as we are nearing the 3-minute mark. It is the final stretch in the NSL season opener. Celia Pashley, the coach for the Atlanta Tornadoes, takes a massive deep breath. As the #1 overall pick, Yusuf Ibrahim beginning to pull away here, and that's a stroke for Atlanta. 3 points in under 30 seconds for the Tornadoes. Shahjahan has to regroup. The tweener, perhaps a little bit too cute, but a lob that is really well placed resets the rally for Atlanta.
He's just really loosening up his wrist here. Yes, he sent him the wrong way.
And a 5-point lead now for Atlanta, and the clock is officially a factor here, Sean. Shah Jahan's got to go quick. If he wins a rally here, but it takes him 60 seconds, that does him little good. He has 5 points to make up in 2.5 minutes. And there goes Ibrahim. This man is unconscious right now.
The fatigue is hitting Shahjahan, I think,
Shahjahan Khan
as he looks to reset the
largely carried
rallies.
this team all day.
Beautiful
He's
lob.
trying to battle. Yusuf smartly just keeping the ball in play. If you're Yusuf, you just don't want to.
What a
give up
rally,
any
Jackson.
unforced
Oh, my
errors,
God.
and wow. Wow. Yusuf slaps his forehead. One too many tweeners. But somebody pull out the TikTok camera because we need to clip that and throw that all over social media. That is some outstanding fast-paced squash. This is what the NSL is all about. It could be too little too late, though, for the American. Shahjahan Khan, Lee Scott yelling for Chef Shah to push here. One final
We hope it's a little comeback
gas
going on here.
for Derby City. And there he goes, and he's got to go quick. He's got to go
No time
quick.
to waste
We've
here.
got
No
80
time to
seconds
waste,
play.
Jackson.
Ball. Solid from Ibrahim, but don't think that's a winner typically against Shahjahan Khan, who's beginning to fatigue here. Ibrahim looks fresh as a daisy, and he's gone into kamikaze exhibition mode here. Behind the back, between the legs.
That
And Shahjahan
That might have
Khan
just done
is
it,
absolutely gassed.
Jackson.
49 seconds here, a 7-point lead for Atlanta. Shahjahan Khan and the Derby City Colts need a miracle here. Perfect squash
Excellent
from Yusuf
read.
Ibrahim. Khan guesses correctly. Winner down the left-hand wall. Cuts it down to a 6-point lead for the Tornadoes. Playing in front of a hot home crowd here. The Tornadoes with a 4-0 victory. Point to your ear. Tell the crowd to
The
lose their
Tornadoes are
minds,
excited
Yusuf
at
Ibrahim.
home.
You deserve it. Yusuf Ibrahim drawing excitement from the crowd. The young Atlanta Tornadoes fans in attendance very excited as we're going to play out this final rally as a formality. And after some confusion, Atlanta has
That's a
done it.
match,
They have
ladies and
won the first
gentlemen.
ever
Atlanta Tornadoes
NSL regular
4,
season match.
Derby City Colts 0.
A dominant 4-0 performance for the Tornadoes on their home courts.
Really
Take
sending a
down
message
Derby
loud
City.
and clear out here, Jackson, with their first season opener. Quite a dominant performance, I'd say.
And the man of the hour, Yusuf Ibrahim, unconscious all day. And we talk about Yusuf Ibrahim, his ups and his downs. Today was a massive up
As
for
the players
Mr.
shake it out
Yusuf
here at the end.
and the
Good to
Atlanta
see
Tornadoes.
high spirits from the Colts.
Great sportsmanship. And an absolutely wonderful matchup to kick things off here, opening day for NSL. Huge shout out to our sponsors, as you see on the screen: ProFly, Dunlop, Honeywick, J Press, all of the players in attendance at last month's National Squash League draft sporting J Press outfits. And they were looking spiffy as ever. Huge shout out to our friends at
And a huge shout out
J
to
Press.
ProFly
And we look
Studios.
at huge shout out to ProFly. Absolutely great call.
They're the
Sean,
reason why
there.
this is able to work and make this happen. And the amount
Absolutely.
of behind the scenes work they do is just unbelievable. And so huge shout out to them and a huge thank you to them for as they really make this happen.
Absolutely. They've guided us through these past couple months here, and we're just getting started with ProFly. We've got a full season of NSL squash to go. Atlanta gets a 4-0 win in the win column, meaning that it will be very difficult for the Derby City Colts to find themselves in the NSL finals. Come June, they will have to have a big performance against the Nashville Crushers on May 17th in Week 3 of NSL action. But let's turn our attention to Week 2, Sean. And Atlanta versus Nashville, Timmy Brownell, Juanca Vargas versus Yusuf Ibrahim and Jeremiah Sazania, as well as Luamba Chaleshi, who was picked up by the Atlanta Tornadoes. He will be in action for Atlanta coming up next week. And a lot of excitement surrounding that matchup. That could be ultimately what decides the South Division, that matchup between the Atlanta Tornadoes and the Nashville Crushers. And then we turn our attention the next day to the Chicago Grizzlies, who will take on the Newport Dragons. On there we have the dates both as May 3rd. I don't believe that's going to be a doubleheader. I think that we're going to have one matchup Friday and one matchup Saturday. Don't quote me on that. I may be mistaken. Head over to nslsport.com, the National Squash League website, for confirmation on that. Follow our social media accounts. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We will be posting constant updates as it relates to match times, as it relates to start times for different broadcasts and dates and all of the above. And also, tickets are on sale for a lot of these upcoming matchups that you see here on the screen. So if NSL is coming to a town near you, make sure to head to nslsport.com and make sure you don't miss this high-flying, exciting action in person for yourselves. But we'll have Chicago heading to Newport. Spencer Lovejoy, Ramit Tandon of the Dragons will play host to the Chicago Grizzlies. Sean, which of those two matchups catches your eye when we're looking ahead to next Friday and Saturday, Week 2 of NSL action?
I would love to see. I mean, it's interesting to see Atlanta has back-to-back weeks here. The team chemistry is probably at a high. They're probably coming on a big win, and going to see how they adjust and see how Nashville comes out. I think it should be a better matchup, especially for Atlanta with Nashville, and I'm fascinated to see that. But and especially with the founder Timmy there, so it should be a fascinating matchup. What do you think, Jackson?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, that Atlanta-Nashville matchup really has my eye. That match will be played at the Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville, the new high school facility. 3 gorgeous courts. Dylan Cunningham, the new coach, heading up that program at Montgomery Bell. That will be the site that will feature a matchup between two of the top teams in the NSL. And Sean, I want to give you your flowers. At the start of the season, had Atlanta at the bottom of my power rankings when we talked about this on the NSL Talk podcast. I had Atlanta 6th. I contemplated moving them up to 5th, but I really did not think that it would be a particularly successful season for the Tornadoes. But Yusuf Ibrahim has proved me wrong, and I want to give you your flowers. I believe you had them 2nd, and
I did.
Huge shout out to you. You were 100% correct on that, because
I'm glad I was correct on that, on Yusuf's impact. But I mean, season is still early, Jackson.
But absolutely, and a lot of matchups still here to unfold. We're only a 6th through the NSL regular season, and then the date to circle on everyone's calendars, June 21st at the Arlen Specter Center in Philadelphia. I can't wait. What an outstanding match for my co-commentator Sean Choi. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm absolutely blessed to come to you for the opening matchup of the National Squash League here this week. My name is Jackson Bragman. Stay tuned. We have a press conference featuring all of the players coming up here in a few moments, so don't go anywhere. Really looking forward to watching the press conference action coming up in a moment, so stay tuned for that, and make sure to tune in next Friday for the Atlanta Tornadoes, who are taking on the Nashville Crushers at the Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville, Tennessee. We will see you guys next week.
Driving the most important initiatives for the growth of squash in the United States.
Well, you're gonna go over there. You want to sit down?
Look. Huh.
I don't know. It's something's coming in, but it's like. I hear it. It's hot. I hear it.
He's gonna cover the interview. Status work. It'd be 100% work. Hey, bye. Yeah. Yeah, it's working. Are you ready? But hold on.
Oh yeah, yeah. This one's just live. Okay. I guess. There's no button. I said there's no button, so I'm assuming it's just. Yeah. Okay.
Emily, we're trying to get 2 other mics ready, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we behind there.
Are we absolutely devastated not to first loss in NSL? Is that the devastated about our first loss?
No. At least give them my questions in advance. Oops, sorry.
All right, I could make us give a 2-minute bumper.
Oh, you're asking questions too?
No, I'm just here. She's sitting here with moral support.
He's feeding us answers.
Yeah.
He's like. Okay. Hi, we're here with the City Colts just after the first match of the season for the National Squash League. I'm Emily. I'm the Director of Academics and Squash at A+ Squash here in Atlanta.
Ted Griffith, enthusiastic fan.
Our first question this evening is, how did it feel playing in the first match of the season?
Well, one word, like, it was really exciting. Like, we did well as a team, and we fought hard. It's like a different format. It's my first time playing NSL, and like, I think it was very like thrilling. The crowd was really with, behind everyone. So it makes it really exciting. Like everyone's pretty excited about the points. So we're very fast paced, that's what we want. Like, so the crowd can go on and on. Basically that's the whole point of it, right? Like, to basically like get excited about those trick shots and everything.
Speaking of the format, what do you think was one of the hardest parts playing this new format?
Yeah, it's a tricky format with you having to jump on and off with the substitutions, so you've really got to be able to switch on straight away when you come back onto the court. So that was something that's very different to playing in your normal PSA matches, where you can get stuck into a match, you work your way in, whereas this it's straight in. And a lot of the time when the substitutions came in, we had power plays, so you're having to be able to defend and stop the other guy from racking up points, and that proved really difficult. Atlanta really used their power plays well today, so we got on the end of it a little bit in the first game, but yeah, it was a good learning experience for us.
So speaking of power plays, how hard was it, or was it even in your mind when y'all were not on the power play to try to play slowly or hit lobs versus playing your normal game that you would play on the PSA?
Well, I actually had a couple of the power plays. I used it because I was struggling a bit, and I thought I can, get in front of it and get some points on the board. But yeah, even without the power play, it seems like the pace is a lot higher because you're only going to be out there for 5-6 minutes at max. So you're really trying to get the pace high, try to get in front of the ball, and I think you really only slow down the play when you're under attack on the power play. But and I think Joe can speak more about that because he faced a lot of that under his.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you're on the defensive side of the power play, it's just about staying in those rallies for as long as possible. Like, you do want to try and slow down, but at the same time, you don't want to go too defensive and just, you know, pop up loose balls for them to be attacking. So it's also just as important to stop the momentum. So if you can actually win a few points in that power play, it does kind of take away a bit of the confidence and makes them kind of try to set the rally up a little bit more. I think that was really key in the power plays, if you can disrupt that and get onto the winning side a few rallies. Even though you're not getting the points, you're stopping them from you know, racking up the points really quickly with a bit of confidence.
Last question for Coach Scott. What are your main takeaways from tonight's match, and what do you think you'll do differently in the upcoming match against Nashville?
Well, that's a long question for me. I think tonight was tough because the Atlanta Tornadoes, you know, all three of them were playing good squash, so they weren't really giving us many mistakes. So, you know, we was trying to be patient, but was also trying to sneak a couple of points. So the boys tried to shoot a little bit because we needed to, but we was kind of under pressure, so we had to try and attack a little bit to. So I think in the next match we'll be a little bit more patient. But like I say, we weren't getting many openings. All three players were playing very strong for Atlanta tonight. So it was putting us under the pressure we didn't really want. So we tried to be strategic with our power plays, and you know it's tough because if you're a couple of points behind and you're trying to push on to get them extra points. But I think. Like I say, it's Joe's first time of playing and Char's first time of playing the format. Dylan played in the inaugural event last May when we did it in Louisville. So I think, once everybody's played it like they have tonight, they kind of get a more of an understanding. And when we go into our next matches, people will have a better feeling as to how we can try and improve. But like I say, there's a lot of strategy involved. But at the end of the day, the other team have got to give you openings as well to get your points back. So the guys did well. So I'm proud of the guys. They all worked hard. They all played hard. So hopefully when we have our match in Louisville against Nashville, we can get the points back.
Great. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey guys. We're good?
And now we're back to Sports Center.
Fernando?
What a great question.
I was about to ask one.
Well, Emily looks...
Sorry, I'll introduce you next time. I forgot.
Honestly, it's easy to forget about him.
Yeah. No, it's not.
He's always inside profile.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Great playing. And thank you so much again for hitting with the students. They're going to talk about it for the next month.
Are you keeping the ball? Can I take my water?
No water.
There we go.
There you go.
Sponsors are still properly written. All right, good game.
Oh, that's cool.
It seems like it's regulation size.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Our coach.
Yeah, just take my last
Our coach.
Worked out pretty well. Unless you want me to.
Let's see you in the house.
You actually have like real questions prepared.
Oh, okay.
I'll just make up something. I don't care.
What they were doing.
All right, we are seated here with the winning team of tonight's matchup, the Atlanta Tornadoes. Congratulations. All right. First question, just off the bat, how did it feel playing here at Atlanta Community Squash against your home crowd? And what are your thoughts about how tonight's match went? Oh, there's one right here, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's my first time here. It's my first time seeing all the members and talking to them. We came like a couple of hours before the match just to get to know everybody. The community here is really nice. Everybody seems like friendly and energetic and really excited about not just supporting us, but excited about the whole NSL project. And yeah, I mean, the match went great. It couldn't have gone any better today. I mean, we had a 4-0 win, so I mean, that's the best way we can actually do today in front of them. We didn't want to lose on our debut here, so yeah, I mean, they were cheering for us really loud, and hopefully we'll have them with us for the next couple of matches.
That is true. The next question for the players, what would you say to other pros on the tour, about the NSL, and why you're playing in the NSL.
Me? I think always ask me the other player why I'm playing the NSL, and I think it's different. I think it's different game, different tough and different game, inside the court. I think it's so different from the normal squash, and the score, the everything, the rules is different. But it's this I think this is good for the sport because I'm so different thing for the normal squash, I think this is so exciting for me, and I need more explore, for the other people, Yeah.
David, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think some players had their doubts, but I think after the first match like this, it should all go away. I mean, the production was great. We arrived and we were well taken care of. We have a team dinner tonight. It's very professional, and yeah, everything is like an actual professional league. So yeah, I'm super glad I decided to play this year, and I'll definitely back playing again. Hopefully for the Tornadoes next year.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I've talked to many players on the PSA. Top players as well. Everybody's really excited about this. Everybody's heard about it. I think the exhibition and the whole kind of draft made a lot of buzz, and thanks to Fernando and all the NSL team, they did a great job with that. So hopefully next year, when everything is set and the calendar is announced, and we can get some of the matches away from the big tournaments, where we are hoping to get some of the higher ranked players join us, because yeah, it's an exciting project and everybody's pumped about it.
So now that you guys have played the first matches and everything, and is there anything you guys would do differently when you're off the court before being subbed in next time?
Who's going to take that?
Not really. I think I was prepared every time I went on court, but you just got to make sure you're 100% ready, because you hit two balls and you're back in, and sometimes the guy before you is not just coming on court, so he's been hitting for 5-10 minutes, so he's ready, and he feels well and his touch is on. So yeah, you have to be 100% ready. I think we did that well today. But yeah, you can't take it for granted, and everybody could beat everyone in the format like this. Like, there's a bit less pressure, so the guys let their shots go, and yeah, so you have to be 100% from the get-go.
Absolutely.
For the boss, Coach Celia, what was your strategy around both the lineup, when you substituted people, and the order? Can you talk through, for us common fans, what was going through your mind?
Do you really think I'm going to give you all my secrets? We still have another game next week. I can't do that.
Whatever you can say. Maybe say it in American English. Lee won't understand.
Well, I think we kind of also all agree. I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm supposed to be the coach, but it's still a team effort. I'm obviously not the one on court. They're the one doing the effort. But I think it was really about trying to get that lead and then holding on to that lead and playing with the power play and the subs to make this happen. So we didn't want to do it too early, to play a power play too early, but we were just kind of adjusting as things were going. The plan was really to try to get the lineup sorted at the start of the game, or of each leg, but without really automatically something set. It was more adjusting and kind of, I would say, almost going with the flow a little bit. We had plans, and an A, B, C, D, Z. But yes, it was really, I think, a learning. I mean, I obviously felt a little bit stressed out being the coach at the start. I'm also the only female coach in this whole thing, so I wanted to show that there is, I think, a room for a female league, a women's league, in there. So I'm just going to put it out there. But it's coming. I know. We've already mentioned it. But so I think it was really trying to work together and then give the advice and take the advice from every one of them. I mean, it was my first time doing it. I did do my homework and watch the exhibition and the match that happened in Nashville to understand it. And I think I've got something really similar with my high school kids at Westminster down here in Buckhead in Atlanta. And it's called offense defense, and it's the same system. So I had this whole thing a bit already in my mind and understood how it was supposed to be played. I think it's different once you get actually to do it. But I think we did a great job, and I mean, I've got the dream team here, so can't complain.
This last question's for Yusuf. You were the number one draft pick. A lot of buzz before the match about your performance. Obviously tonight you made it worth the while to be the number one pick. What do you think about being MVP this season? Do you think you can keep the momentum going?
Wow. Yeah, there was no pressure. I mean, as I said, like, we're playing home here. As much as I get nervous in these situations, I'm also way too excited, nervous in a good way. So I'm excited to perform, not just in front of our home crowd, but also like when we play away matches. I'm not the only one on the team as well. I mean, as Celia said, it's a team effort, and I just try to do my job as the best I can and help the team win. So yeah, today was a good win. It was a good start for us, and I'm not gonna think too far ahead about the MVP. Hopefully it comes on the way. But yeah, I mean, if we keep performing like this, hopefully one of our team members gets it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Congratulations again.
Undefeated.
Yeah. Top of the league, baby.
All right.
Good match, man.
So I realized that PVC is closed tonight, so I can help carry people over.
The guys are just going to shower here.
Okay,
They're
that's fine.
really, they just thank you so much. They like.
Okay.
I'm going to shower.
Okay, well maybe.
Driving the most important initiatives for the growth of squash in the United States.